All right, welcome back, dear viewers. Today I got part four of my deep dive into FASERIP, Marvel versus Heroic. I'm going to actually focus more on Heroic today because in our third session of the Row campaign, something came up after the game and we chatted a bit about it. Kind of debated, really. I was being a little argumentative. But not that I was fighting. I was just, I get paid to argue. I'm very analytic about these things. And I want to thank Atmost and Melkor for participating in that conversation because it revealed something that I think I missed when I first kind of read through the book. And that's what this video is really going to be about. It's going to be about karma and how important it is for Heroic. It's important for Marvel too, but in Heroic it's emphasized, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so Heroic, karma, and gameplay. All right, so first things first. So this is something that what jumped out at me when I was kind of reviewing the gameplay rules and the feats, and basically I didn't quite fully explain how the universal table and non-combat feats work in my last video, and that is because I missed this one game mechanic. It wasn't placed in the front of the book. It's placed in the judges section, and maybe that can be remedied. I don't know, but basically, when you have a non-combat feat that you have to make that doesn't have like a resistance really, you determine your success or fail in a very similar way that Marvel handles intensities generally. So in Heroic, there's almost two ways of handling a situation. In combat, you're really just looking at the universal table. In non-combat stuff, you are using this, and basically you determine what rank, ability, power, talent that you're working with, the difficulty of the feat by its rank. Cross reference it on the universal table to figure out what column shift you're on. Roll, and depending on the intensity, if it's lower than your rank, you just need a green or better. If it's equal to your rank, you just need a yellow or better. And if it's more difficult than your rank, greater rank than yours, then you need a red to succeed. I had concerns about this because I started doing the math hammer as I do when I'm looking at a game, and it looks like that lifting a very heavy object in Marvel, getting a red result, would be easier than it is in Heroic. Because in Marvel, you're just looking at your powers rank and consulting the table. In Heroic, you're looking at your powers rank, the intensity, and figuring out where you are on the table on the table, and then applying this. You need a green, a yellow, or red. Um, and I that kind of threw me off because I'm like, well, what does this really mean? Well, a couple things. On the one hand, like I said, it's going to be harder for you to succeed in Heroic, um, but without it, it's very possible. And again, I was using the math hammer here. Aunt May, with her feeble strength, could potentially bend a metal bar of unearthly strength by simply rolling on the very last table on the far, or I'm sorry, the very last column on the far left side of the table, the -9 column shift. So she just wouldn't be able to do it because of this system here, or this little subsystem that's been tacked on. I think this kind of demonstrates the difficulty in properly designing a superhero game. Whether you want to emulate a comic book or just tell a good story, you're running into this juxtaposition of normal world physics and it's colliding with superhero physics. I think and Heroic has figured out a way to sort of balance it all. It's karma, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. There is a 800-pound gorilla in the room about this whole conversation I'm having about Marvel and Heroic, and that's Alexander Max's Ascendant. Oh, that game is. I sort of feel like I need a PhD in math and game design to understand it. But it does use a universal table as well, and there's a lot of comparing and contrasting that like Heroic does to try to figure out where you are on that table. But there's this mathematical formula that tries to bridge and connect normal world and superhero physics. Whether or not it's successful, I couldn't tell you. I gotta like really read that game again for like the fourth time, and maybe even play it because it's like over my head. But yeah, and I'm a big fan of simplicity. And while this little tacked on subsystem initially rubbed me the wrong way, karma is the solution, and Heroic meets this problem head on and solves it. So, and that's by separating karma from advancement. Now, you got to remember, Marvel, you need karma to improve your character, but you also spend karma to improve roles. Okay, by Heroic separates that. By doing that, the players are free to spend their karma to do the crazy stuff you see in comic books. So when you're lifting that heavy object and you need a red result, the player can declare he is spending karma to succeed. All right, and furthermore, Aunt May just can't do it because of that subsystem. You could do the same in Marvel. Say like, yeah, I'm going to lift this heavy thing, and I need a red result to do it, but I'm going to spend karma. Right? You can do the same thing in Marvel, but the difference is you have to make a choice in Marvel. Like, well, if I spend this karma to lift this car, I'm going to have less karma to advance my character at the end of the session or after 2 sessions or whatever. You know, if you're trying to save up your karma to, improve your strength, improve your fire powers or whatever, right? In Heroic, you don't have that. You don't have that issue. You could just spend it and do that awesome thing. And so karma should be awarded every scene or encounter, and so to encourage players to spend it. The author, Bear the Gen X GM, good guy, been chatting with him here and there. He describes it as a flow between the players and the GM, and it actually says that in the book. And it's kind of like this, it's kind of like High Guy Gaxian, right? It's like you initially discount it as just useless flowery language, and then when you read it later, you're like, oh wait a minute, it's actually trying to tell me something here. And so he says that it's a flow. It's like between the game master and the players, they're spending their karma and they're gaining karma to tell this story. It's that's exactly what you need to do. You can't be stingy with it. So here's an example. Well, this is from the book, how the karma awards and the penalties you can get for doing bad things. So like if you stop and prevent some violent crime and maybe even effectuate an arrest, that's a total of 45 karma you've just earned in that scene, right? If you ignore a misdemeanor, I don't know what that would. It's some petty larceny. You'll get -5. Now, does that mean you have to pull out your guns, vendetta? I'm looking at you, and start blasting the kid trying to pick someone's pocket? No, you got like other tools available to you to engage in that scene. Specifically, and I want to bring this up again, specifically, Heroic's social interaction subsystem that does not exist in Marvel. Okay, I really like that he included this. So this could be that like moment. Maybe you're on the hunt for some terrible villain who's doing something, and your character just catches something out of the corner of their eye, and they see some kid picking someone's pocket. You could come up there and like, use your superhero persona and be like, hey, be better, through appeal to emotion or reason or whatever, and that way. I liken it to like Superman, right? Like he's just like, don't forget, air travel is still the safest mode of travel. You know what I mean? Like, you have that superhero persona that you can use, and I like that, and it's subtle. It's really subtle, and I'm not surprised I missed it, and I'm glad that we had a conversation about it after the game the other night. So, um, well, let's talk about the Punisher. So, in Heroic and in Marvel, if you kill someone, you lose all your karma. Whatever you've got, whether it's a 12 karma, 150, 1,000, it's gone. Um, and in Heroic, if you intentionally kill someone, I can't speak to Marvel because I didn't look at it. I was really focused on Heroic today. If you intentionally kill someone, you go down to negative 200. So you have a pit you got to climb out of. And if you hit negative 500, you become a villain. Everyone likes the Punisher. He's just so badass, right? He's so badass. Um, I have the quote here, one of my favorite lines from the Netflix Daredevil series when John Bernthal was introduced as the Punisher. Frankly, did a fantastic job. I loved his portrayal. Really gave the Punisher's three-dimensional depth. But you're one bad day away from being me. I love that line. I love that line. That shows a broken character. It shows someone who just does not want to try. And that is exactly what the karma system is demanding of you. Try to find a heroic, goodly way of overcoming these obstacles that your character faces. And that's what's so compelling about Daredevil too. Like I liked Daredevil back in the day. I'm not a huge comic guy, but I did read some Daredevil, and I liked him, and I really like the portrayal of him in Netflix because you see this guy who's walking the line, where he is one bad day away. But unlike the Punisher, the Daredevil, Matt Murdock's, I'm not trying to preach here, but he's Christian, he's a Catholic, and I think that's what keeps him from going over the line. Where as we see with the Punisher, he does not have that moral grounding, and so he's lost in the darkness. And we see that in the Punisher spinoff, where he's just like, you are like I was heartbroken watching that, and and then there's that scene where he's in that warehouse. He's not even taking cover. He's just moving through, fully automatic, screaming, shooting at everyone. It's almost as if he was asking them to hit him and kill him. You know what I mean? Like, that's how dark the Punisher is. He's not a good guy. He's a tragic, fallen hero, Which brings me to Vendetta. We love Vendetta. Vendetta is a character in our Thursday night heroic game. We love this guy, but he is our anti-hero. And in contrast, I have my character, Dr. Alchemy, and thinking more about the karma system and renown, which I'm going to talk about in a second here. I'm actually starting to think more about like what kind of goals, like what do I really want to achieve to make my character more heroic. It's why my character healed the bad guy. We don't even know his name. He just was setting fire to things, and Vendetta shot him, and he started bleeding out, and so we took him out pretty quickly. And but he's bleeding out, so I'm like, I can't have this guy die. So I ran and I bound his arms and then hands and whatever, right? And then I injected him with my healing syringe. But in that fight, I really felt like we saw who, an aspect of Vendetta that I think could potentially be problematic. Not in a bad way, like we don't want him to play anymore. No. On the contrary, I want to see what happens. But we really need to play the karma system. More rules it was written, I think. And it's all because of this one moment, right? So this bad guy who's setting fires, he's got some thugs helping him. Please watch the actual play if you're into that sort of thing. But Shaman turns into a bear and knocks one of the thugs to the ground, and the guy's out. He's knocked unconscious. He's out of the fight, and this other thug sees this bear just appear in the middle of the street, and he freaks out and starts running. Well, he happens to run towards Vendetta. All of us started laughing because we all consciously and actually expressly stated the thug would have been safer with the bear. So, I mean, So I don't know. I'm not against the anti-hero. I'm not. I think, but I do think you need to be prepared for the consequences, and I do think uh, we should really consider being a little bit more rules is written on the karma stuff. So, which takes me to karma pools, and this is something that I think is a really cool tool. It's also in Marvel, but basically, you guys agree, you and your players agree that you're going to be a team. The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, or just a temporary team up. And you contribute karma to a pool that everyone can draw from. This might be a great way for an anti-hero to get around the murder stuff, because if he kills someone and loses all his karma, he still has the karma pool to draw from. Uh, though he better be contributing to it from time to time, right? Maybe Vendetta could head to the local food shelter or whatever, and hand out like sandwiches to the poor folk. I don't know, because I have a feeling this guy, he's a loose cannon. So anyway, all right. So another award that should be considered at the end of every session, at the very least, is renown. This is the I don't want to say the equivalent, but it is like popularity in Marvel. Okay, both popularity and renown fluctuate depending on what your character does. You get penalties for making the news for causing property damage or engaging in criminal activity. However, if you go on patrol regularly, make public appearances, or make the news for good things, you'll get positives to your renown. Okay, in Marvel, you will take the score that you have and consult the universal table to figure out what rank you're at, and that's how you would make your social roles, just based on your popularity. I think that's overly simplistic, and I don't like it. I think heroics, like I said earlier, heroics social interaction system makes a lot more sense, and you can. And I'm gonna probably talk a little bit more about that in a separate video, in all honesty. But renown, again, will help you add column shifts when making those um, roles. So, like if you have a decent renown, and people kind of know who you are, and they know you're a good guy, and you're trying to appeal to their good nature to stop picking pockets, for example, that could give you a bonus on that role. Versus like Vendetta might have a negative renown. I don't know. Depending on how he approaches it. Like if he's commanding somebody using, I think that would be the psyche ability. I would award a positive, because Vendetta is scary. Like, oh crap, Vendetta caught me picking a pocket. And he's got a gun in my face. All right, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Versus trying to appeal to emotion or whatever, they might be like, this guy's full of crap. We all know he's just gonna go kill other people. He's just as bad as me. So there might be a negative column shift in that regard. So renown is important in that game mechanic that will have an impact on future roles. So that needs to be monitored as well. Um, and then there's the advancement awards, which I talked about in the last video, but here's what they are. You get just a few points, and to get a new power, that's like 20, but it starts at feeble, and then you have to start spending points to get it up from feeble to poor to typical to good, so on and so forth. But every time you hit a rank, you have to spend an additional, I think it's 5 points to jump into that rank. So to get from feeble to poor would require 1 to get to 3, another 1 to get to 4, and then an additional 5 to jump into the poor rank. So a total of 7, right? And then it's just going to get harder and harder as you go up. But this is something that needs to be awarded at the end of every session as well. And so my recommendations is for players, spend karma like you're a drunken sailor on shore leave, dude. Like this is a superhero game. Do the crazy stuff. Like and it's hard. It's hard because like I've been so used to OSR the past few years. Like I'm kind of conservative the way I play. Like I'm gonna feel around. I don't want to like put myself into too much danger because I got to protect my hit points, right? Well, this is a superheroes game. This is heroic. Spend that karma, go crazy. GM, please keep the karma, renown, and advancement tables at your fingertips. Print them out, keep them next to you, and just you know, I don't want to say something untoward, but I don't know, give away that karma points like you're a drunken sailor on shore leave, like at a strip club or something. Uh, but yeah, do that. I mean, it'll just encourage the players to keep doing more and more and more, and it'll be awesome. I think overall, I think the karma system in Heroic will work best if you adhere to Raw. Like, I think, I'm not trying to undercut my good buddy Legacy here, but Vendetta starts killing people. That's something we're going to have to address, and that'll make for a cool side plot, right? Like, oh man, Vendetta, we like the guy, but Jesus, do you have to keep killing people? Um, but yeah, so that's karma. That's all I got. That's karma. That's renown. That's the advancement system. That's heroic. I hope you made it through this video, and if you did, I hope you liked it. And if you did, please hit like and subscribe, bell icon, yada yada yada. One last thing. Next Friday, starting at 10 Central, 11 Eastern in the evening, Gary, our game master for Heroic, and I will be starting a live stream talking about gaming, all things gaming. And I hope to see you there. I hope to see you join the conversation. It's called The Second Watch. So, hope to see you there. Anyway, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.